Well, hello and welcome. This is the WWW interview call series. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Robert Arthur here in Granbury, Texas, and my co-host,
Jim Rhodes in St. George, Utah. Welcome, everybody. You're the VIPs on this line, and we've got another VIP that we're excited to interview and share with all of you.
Yes, it's like the reason for the season, something like that. Or
Exactly.
he is. So, but welcome, guys. We also want to give a promo out there. Jim, we've been doing these interviews like this for what, 6 months?
Yes, at least.
At least.
And at the beginning of these interviews, we like to let you know our little disclaimer: we don't claim to heal, cure, or diagnose or treat any illness or make any financial claims that are out of order. We're here for training purposes, but we do bring real and raw people to share their inner feelings. And that's what this is all about, is to introduce you to some outstanding people, which you've already met. And tonight is no exception to that rule. In fact, I'm very excited what we'll get into in the next couple of minutes. But with that being said, Robert.
Yeah, very much so. Can't wait to introduce this gentleman. Once again, there's a growing library of these interviews, so feel free to go either to our Facebook page, Your Next Level Starts Here, YouTube channel, and you'll find these interviews and ever-growing stories to tap into. So the gentleman we have the distinct honor to bring on, anyone watching this live or the recording, this gentleman has made that possible in many shapes and fashions and forms, okay? He is the founder and the CEO of Zalevo, which again, Zalevo, the origin is helping you reach your highest potential and helping you just, rise to that greatest point in your life, health-wise, contribution-wise, giving,
spiritual-wise.
How you show up as a person and a spiritual person in a physical body on this planet. So he's been widely successful for many years financially, starting with focusing on real estate, became a professional there on many levels. And then he also launched a company called Master Your Power Within. It was successful internationally. Again, he impacted many, many lives with that. And he did launch a company. It was prior to the existing company that we call Zalevo. Now it was called Health Sync Global, 2.5 years ago now. And again, it evolved, transformed, and how we have this amazing young company with this great big global vision called Zalevo. So we want to welcome him. And Jim, what else can we share before we bring Brandon on tonight?
Well, one of the things I think that we may not be aware of, he didn't need to do this. He was already successful. He had sufficient and then some for his needs and his family. And he could have, like a lot of people, even retired as a young man. And yet, and I'm going to get into this in the interview of why he would create something like this when he didn't need to invest his time and his money and all this effort. What was the big why behind that? It certainly wasn't for more notoriety or more income. If anything, he was investing some hard money into it. So that makes him an exception to a lot of rules. And there was some reasons that came from his childhood, from his grandfather, and a whole bunch of other things that I hope he shares tonight that brought it to the forefront and making it possible to have this platform that you and I are part of with him and watch this growth just change a lot of people's lives, and anyone who is interested in it physically, mentally. It is beyond anything I've ever seen. I've never been this excited about any set of products, master formulations. If I were to say they were divinely inspired and beyond the pale of good to the next level, that would be an understatement for me to say that, even though they're just foods and combinations of herbs and botanicals. I am extremely grateful because it is blessing the lives of every person who trusts me enough to put it in their body, and they are seeing results that are phenomenal.
Well said. So that's some of the reasons why we're here and we're excited. So Brandon, welcome to the WWW call.
Yes, officially Brandon Broadwater. And you've got big shoulders, sir. You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys tonight. I very much look forward to our conversation and helping to help anybody to get to the next level, to get unstuck, and to reach their dreams.
Yeah, very much so. Speaking of that, let's start with one of the biggest priorities, and right there next to our faith is family. So you're in California on the West Coast with your loved ones.
That's right. So San Clemente, California, down here for a couple of days with my family. July is a special month for us. We love to get a couple days on the beach, and you'll actually see in the background here, there's some surfboards back there, and it's a lot of fun with those kids. And I'm a person that works hard and plays hard, and my youngest is 12, my oldest is 18, and you only have certain seasons to do certain things in life, and you got to take a swing for those opportunities when they're there and not play the later game. And so whether it's with kids or a real estate deal or business opportunity or spiritual prompting, I'm one person that's doing that. So you see me right now in action, taking a break from my family. It's a great time.
Yeah. So we have your honey, Leslie. How many years now?
20 years. Been married for 20 years. We moved down to St. George about 11 or 12 years ago. We love living in St. George, and it's a pleasure to put corporate headquarters for Zalevo in St. George. It's a very special place. A lot of great people there, and those of you who've been on the Red Rock Retreat know so.
Yes.
You get in a helicopter and ride around. I mean, it's incredible. It's like no other place. It's East California, and I might have just offended a couple people, but that's why I live in St. George for a reason.
Yeah, it is a beautiful place. And you took us many places you take your family, and I do want to stay there for just a second. So you have Carter, who's right now in Africa.
That's right. So my oldest son is Carter. He has been in Africa for about 30 days right now, and he has chosen to give 2 years of his life to do a service mission where he goes and visits families and people and tries to better their lives and help bring great principles into their lives. And they're really proud of him, and just did a FaceTime call with him 2 days ago. And it's pretty incredible to see a young man who, this is what he said. Come on, Matt. I did not say this at 18, but listen to what he said. I wish I would have said something like this. He said, "Dad, I can't wait to set the things of the world down. And I know it's not normal for a teenager to say this, but I just want to get rid of my phone for 2 years and go lose myself in the service of others." How awesome is that?
Well,
That's a dad's dream
I was
to hear those words.
The same thing, Jim. So, and obviously in his footsteps, you have Micah, Shay, Faith, and then a beautiful name, Canyon.
Yep.
So
that's right.
That's, for those watching, we wanted to start here first because whatever we do in life, to probably mess up a beautiful quote from, I think, Brandon on one of his Facebook posts was, if we look at our daily lives and we're not being able to spend time with our most precious loved ones and family, we need to reconsider what we're doing, something like that, Brandon. So I love how you live life. So
yes, what an example to any father. Thank you for that. And being a father of 8 myself, the most important memories of my life are those memories. I don't remember having to get up all those times to go to work and all the things like that. It was the time I spent with them. And too often we overlook that part because we're so busy out there slaying the dragon. We get home and think, oh, I don't have time to sit down and listen to them. I just got to go relax.
Yeah.
And what things we miss out if we don't take time.
So true. So one of my leading questions.
I found in my.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I found in my life that I like what you said about time. As you take the time, Jim. A lot of times there's been seasons in my life where I didn't feel like there was time, but my grandpa taught me that if something's important to you, we'll make time for it. And I thought there was some secret formula. And he said, no, there's not. You make time for the things that are important to you. So you just make time for it. He also taught me that highest energy wins with kids. And so you don't, that's true with life, right? Is the person with the highest energy, the person who gets back up and gets back up fast is the one who gets usually what they want out of life. And I know anytime I slip into, which is very rare in my life, I'm just not that type of person, but there were seasons when I was younger, especially, where I would slip into laziness and I wouldn't get what I wanted, and I wonder why. And I really did wonder why. And I didn't realize that I was the problem. And as I was in my late teens and my grandpa started to coach me, he did teach me to get back up and get back up fast. And he taught me you can't stop somebody who does that. And he has made a big difference. Made a big difference. Anyways, you're going to ask a question, Robert. Go ahead.
No, it connects to what you just said as well. One of my next questions was, what is the tie-in? Like, what connection and value, even impact, do you see that your family, how your relationship with your family, how is that impacting what you do at Zalevo? And the other side of the question is then, do you see Zalevo already creating some positive impact on even your family? I would love to see what that connection looks and feels like.
Well, I'm a believer of an old quote, and I think it was from a person last name McKay, who said, no success outside the home can compensate for a failure inside the home. And listen, I'm the last person that I was ever going to say that life is perfect, but there is a perfect approach to life. None of us are, none of my friends, nobody here at Zalevo, our culture, my family, my kids, my wife, none of us have a standard of perfection. Our standard is to focus on the good and to get back up and get back up fast. And that creates an entirely different outcome. And so I would say that, honestly, Robert, we got to be careful who we admire and who we follow in this life, who we look up to. I remember when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I had to get really clear to be careful not to admire and be careful not to take the advice of people who just were rich, who had success financially or in business, because that's something I really wanted. I had to make the distinction on what kind of families did they have? What kind of life did they have? Did they have happiness? Did they have impact? Did they have a life that was leaving a legacy? And I remember as I started to get really clear that there had to be some boxes checked for me before I would be interested in taking a person's advice. I wanted to know if their life was in order. I didn't want somebody who had a lot of wealth and success and made millions and their life was in shambles and they left a debris of relationships all over in their lives. I wanted to, and I'm not saying that we should all be judgmental, but why would you take advice from somebody with life in shambles, but they have bank accounts that are full? And that's one thing I love about my grandpa and the other mentors that I chose to listen to was I would listen carefully to their language patterns. I would ask about their lives, and I needed to make sure that their lives were had harmony in them, that there was happiness not only in their life but in the lives of those around them. And then that would start to be more of an interest and draw to me to find out and get their advice. But it just seemed to me that there's a lot of people that may appear successful, and that's one of the reasons why I've done the prosperity quadrant. Can I share the screen right now?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I think this will help to kind of lay a foundation here of some clarity here. Is there's 4 worlds of money that my grandpa taught me about, and I'm just pulling up an old slide deck. So I'm talking to you. This isn't prepared. And I just had a couple slide decks to pull up. Right here, you can see this is a slide deck from January 2002 presentation I did, but this is the prosperity quadrant on the right. And my grandpa taught me a lot of lessons about money here, and he taught me there's 4 worlds of money. You have the poor, you have the middle class, you have the rich, and you have the abundant. The poor are the people who are in survival financially. The middle class, there's nothing wrong with the middle class. The middle class are the backbones of America. They're the backbones of the great economies of the world. There's nothing wrong with middle class. You can live a life in the middle class and have a very good life. The right-hand side upper corner is the rich, or people who have residual income from businesses and real estate. And the bottom right-hand corner is the quadrant I'm actually talking about right now. And it's this abundant quadrant where you have happiness, impact, bonded relationships. And those are things that are intangibles. And so my grandpa asked me that I had to make a decision. He said, well, where do you want to be? You can be poor and abundant. There's people like with my son Carter out in Africa, there are people who have nothing but are very happy. They have bonded relationships and they do great things in their lives, and they have nothing, right? So you can be poor and abundant. You can be middle class and abundant. That just means that you probably haven't figured the money thing out. It means that the middle class sometimes have a pattern where they tell themselves that money's not important, but yet how can you tell where a person's priorities are? It's where they spend their time, right? And the middle class spend the majority of their time working for what? Money. And so I was that person when I graduated in radiology, and I was working at a children's hospital, primary children's hospital in Salt Lake City as a radiology technician. And I realized I was fooling myself because I was telling myself that money wasn't important, but yet I was spending the majority of my time working for it. I'm like, wait a minute, why don't I just admit that money is important? It doesn't have to be the most important thing when I admit that it's important. And why don't I figure the money thing out? Because I'm a person who believes that if you don't figure the money thing out, if you don't tackle the money's going to tackle you.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. And so this rich quadrant up here on the top right is for people who have figured the money thing out. They have real estate and business that works for them while they're sleeping, and they get this thing that starts with an R as well, called residual income. It just keeps rolling in. And we're in times of inflation. I've been talking about inflation long before Zalevo was founded. I was all over North America on stage after stage after stage, talking about inflation, talking about the importance of deriving your income from the right-hand side of the quadrant and the rich quadrant, because in times of inflation, the rich get richer. The rents go up, the prices go up. It's very easy to raise prices if your prices go up, and you can give yourself a raise over here on the right-hand side, where the poor middle class get tackled by inflation, in all honesty. So my grandpa asked me, what, you just have to make the decision, where do you want to derive your income? And I made the choice. Well, heck, if I have the choice, I would choose to be rich and abundant, because then I can tackle the money. I don't want to be tackled anymore. And so to answer your question, Robert, I know I gave a lot of context there, but I feel like I need to answer the question. To the people I look up to are the people who have prosperity that are rich and abundant. Those are generally most of the people, but I have plenty of people that I very much admire who are middle class and abundant, who have done some great things in their lives as well. But to take out this abundant quadrant, the family, like you just asked me about, how has family affected my decisions in starting this company and running it and what I do today, has everything to do with it, because I have zero desire to be in this rich quadrant alone. And I'm guessing that many of you listening tonight, and Robert and Jim, I know you too, you don't want to be in this rich quadrant alone. It almost, who wants to be, have a lot of money and not have friends and family to share it with? I mean, that's the whole point, is you go party and have a great time together and celebrate the fruits of your labors, right? And that's what I'm doing here at Zalevo, is I have a lot more friends and Zalevo family members that are on this journey with me, where we're on the ride of our lives, and this is our best year yet. And I'm real proud of what so many people have done, and I'm excited for the future of what everybody's going to experience as they continue on this journey.
Yeah, it's been quite the blessing, and we clearly, for those watching this in the context of the wellness community, again, part of my goal here and Jim tonight is to give you some background and a deeper look-see at what drives, who's behind the company, kind of what drives him and what led him to launch and then now build and expand Zalevo. So Brandon, I know Jim asked some questions too. One of my other questions, to be real succinct here, is I know you had your grandpa influenced you on so many levels, and he influenced you a lot on the wellness and nutrition side for some time. Is was that probably one of the biggest influences of why, when you decided to create this vehicle, that you decided to focus in on nutrition?
Yeah. So my grandpa, he had a major impact for me in my life. And I remember when I was 8 years old, your question is, did my grandpa have an impact with me in nutrition? Is that your
Yeah.
question?
My general question is,
Okay.
what were the major influences on why you chose to choose a wellness vehicle? And then I'm assuming your grandpa was a big part of that. So.
Sure. So two questions, like what's the influence and why a wellness vehicle? So first of all, if you take, I'll share my screen again, right? Expect a screen share. If you look at this prosperity quadrant, a lot of people want to make what's called a transition from the left-hand side of the quadrant to the right-hand side of the quadrant, right? And to make this transition, there's a couple things that are going to be needed. So there's three critical elements needed. We need energy, and I'm talking about physical energy right here. It just takes mental, physical energy to reach our dreams, to transition across this quadrant. The next thing we need is a financial vehicle, and the third thing we need is a duplication model. We need to have a model to duplicate the good in our lives. So to answer your question, why a wellness company? Is to give people more energy, Robert. It's to give people energy and to help their bodies function at its highest peak potential. And it took me a while. When I used to train in Master Your Power Within alone, I didn't have a product line that was nutritional wellness products, which means people were left to themselves. They were left to old habits and misinformation and potentially taking things that could be damaging to their health. And I could see a pattern in people's lives that people really did want to transition from a poor middle class situation to a rich and abundant situation. But to do so, it did take energy. And I saw that people hit a wall. And they hit a wall, and it is called energy. And the way you overcome that wall is you optimize your body. And we cannot optimize our body today without supplements. So even when I was a kid, as young as 6, 7, 8 years old, I remember some of my first memories going through my grandfather's health food store. And he had a health food store in 2 different locations. And I remember going through, it was in Sugar House, Salt Lake City. And I remember I would go through his health food store, and he would walk me through the bulk bins of different herbs, and he'd talk to me about them. And I still remember the smells of different ones. And every few minutes as we were going through the back area and even the front area, people would walk in and they'd call him by first name, and they'd get their supplements and they'd leave. So I remember my grandpa, he'd walk me to the front of the store where he had thousands of supplements that were there, and he knew about every single one of them. It was way beyond my pay grade at that point because he would tell me about them, and I was just too young to remember it all. But I do remember how I felt, and I do remember what he told me. He talked to me about the importance of several different supplements and how important they were to optimize our health. And then I also remember he'd walk over to the fridge, and he always had probiotics in there, and he'd give me some probiotics. And it's really interesting because my grandpa is exactly 100 years old right now. He turned 100 years old in April, and he's witty, he's smart, he's active, he is the person who is in his community where he lives. He goes and serves the people every day. He is excited to wake up. He's full of life. And I think back to, almost 40 years ago. I'm 45 years old right now. So 35, 40 years ago when I was in his health food store, and he was taking those probiotics long before he showed them to me and long before the world caught on to them as to how valuable those are in our bodies. He's been taking supplements, and he's even today, if you sit down with him and I say, Grandpa, hey, what are the best things to take so I can be like you, right? And he'll pop off exactly which supplements to take. And I'm pleased to tell you that many of those are in the Zalevo products right now in our current offering. And don't be surprised if future products are going to have some surprises along the way. that come from some of the things that he's talked about. And by the way, so in the journey of bringing these to the world, one of the things I've been very clear about is that there's two ways to really build a company, and this is for everybody. This is for a solopreneur, and that's a person who wants to run a business, but they're trying to do it all on their own. We can do more together than we can alone. And when a solopreneur, like I used to be, I started out that way. I'm thinking nobody can do it better than me, right? Well, that's a little bit of middle class mindset. Just I had to admit that to myself, right? We're taught that in school. Don't get a partner. That means you're cheating. But in the business world, and for us to succeed, we want to have partners. We want to have great people. But yes, it was inspired by my grandpa for sure. And I've learned to spare no expense in getting the best teams that you possibly can to make sure that you have the best of the best outcome. And that includes product development. I've hired the best teams, whether it's been PhDs, people that really are passionate, that will guard the gate in what's important and not lowering any standards in what we have. So why a wellness company? A wellness company can provide the breakthrough where you could have the best mindset training, you could give somebody exercise, but without a nutritional component, and especially with dietary supplements in this day and age, with the type of foods that are available, the dietary supplements and supplementation are the only way to go, in my opinion, to optimize our body. And so starting with my grandpa's inspiration and him coaching me and counseling me, and me honestly trying the difference when I was taking different supplements that he showed me, and then refining it and getting the best teams that money can buy. Honestly, they're a godsend. Every season we've had the right people show up, and we have a lot of people on our Zalable Labs team. It's directed by Kirsty Cody at this current time, and we have a lot of people on our labs team that have helped us to develop the products and get them to where they're at today.
I've got to jump in here for just a second, because I actually met you almost by accident. I'm fortunate enough to live where you're located in your home offices, and having known Kirsty before, got in a conversation with her and was all excited I could offer her something for this newer company that might take your products to the next level. And I come in and meet with her, and she is so polite to let me tell her what I've got in my back pocket that will help her, and then find out that she not only has what I have in my back pocket, but 3 times as much, and from better sources. And that knocked me over, first of all. But I actually walked out of there wondering if you guys realized, because my health journey and my meeting through the companies I've been with, a lot of knowledge, my thought was, I don't know if they know what they've made. I don't know if they really realize the power of these master formulas. And I literally was awakened at 4 a.m. in the morning with, I'm not sure they really realize they have found the fountain of youth. They have been able to open that up for people who could have never activated that fountain of youth that's inside each of us. And it's always been there, but it's mostly dormant because we don't activate it. We don't know how, or we don't have the energy and the ability. And yet you have tapped into that, which is nothing short of miraculous. And so with you sharing what you just did of your growing up in your grandfather's health food store, you do recognize it. And I am grateful, more than you know, to the lives it's touching of my best friends and family, just from what your inspiration has been to help build these master formulations, and they are food. You mentioned exercise. There is no amount of exercise that can outrun a poor diet. You will never make up for a poor diet, because we are what we eat. And I teach that from the beginning to the end for the last 45 years. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jim. Couldn't agree more.
I will bring up one other thing. When Kirsty was wise enough to say, well, I'd like you to meet the founder of this company, and let me go get Brandon for you. And I was sitting in your boardroom, and you walked in, and this doesn't happen that often to me, but when it does, I pay attention. It was like, I must already know this person, you. And literally, as you shook my hand, I felt that little nudge from boom. You need to know this man a lot more than you know him now. And listen, he's wise. So, yeah, I was certainly not expecting that. I was over there to bless you guys, and ends up that I'm the one that got blessed the most out of this whole introduction to you. And thank you for what you've created. Both on the health side, which is, like you say, if you don't have your energy, you're not going to get much done. You're going to lay in bed and wish. That doesn't work. And so thank you for the products, but for the financial side too, I might say, literally having worked for the last company I was with for 18 years, building a residual income, to within a year to come close to rebuilding that in 12 months versus 18 years, that's probably unheard of. And the masterful way that the compensation plan was put together, in my opinion, the front end has doubles, so that those first 3 to 6 months, you've got so many things that kick in that help you when you need, if you're going to jump into this with, more than just a very part-time business, that can make such a difference to anyone who wants to experience the financial side. And all of that was, I guess, I'm going to say, a divine design for helping a lot of people to make a decision if they do want to utilize the products, as well as the financial residual income that they could build over a period of time.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because your story, to replace an income that took you 18 years to build, and to be able to replace that in a matter of months is very telling. And our comp plan is by design. Again, I've spared no expense bringing on the best teams. We brought on a comp plan development team that helped architect the comp plan in ways that we co-created. I had some very specific things that I wanted. I wanted great culture. I wanted great motivators. And I wanted to make sure that people could come in and succeed. And one of those things is you've got to have a balance of where the payouts are. There's got to be a hefty amount on the front end and the back end, so you're rewarding those who are getting started, and you reward those that are here and they build their legacy here. And we've got a modern, compliant comp plan, and a lot of people's lives are never going to be the same because of it, and you're one of those individuals. Both of you guys are. In regards to the handshake when we first met, I'll just be candid, and the truth is that here's my experience. The right people will show up in our lives, and the right people will show up a lot faster when we are in alignment with our highest potential, when we get out of our own way, is another way of saying that. Also, in my experience, when we step over into the having the intention to live an abundant life, like I talked about with the prosperity quadrant, when we have the desire to serve, to give, to uplift, and to really make a difference. In other words, we have some pure intent with what we're doing, right? To uplift the lives of others. I found that even more people start showing up that are the right people. And I've had many experiences where the right people have shown up, whether it's the comp plan development team, whether it was Kirsty Cody, our product development, director of product development of the Zalabo Labs team, whether it's the Zalabo Labs team members themselves, the people who are back there doing the mixing and things like that, and whether it's our managing director, Mitch Hancock. I met him at a car dealership, and in our first or second conversation, him and I, we looked at each other and we said, I get this feeling we're going to do great things together in life. I mean, come on, we just met, right? But I don't want things to sound hokey pokey, but there is a reality that the right people show up in our lives, and you can't deny it. And not only do the right people show up, but God's hand is in our lives if we allow it. There's one of the challenges that I've been tasked with, that I've given myself a challenge, and is to seek and expect miracles. And that it's not a hocus pocus thing. I mean, I'm a business guy. I know how to put the business hat on. I run quarterly planning. I run several multi-million-dollar companies, and I know when God's hand is operating in my life. And I know what it was like when I was first getting started. My wife and I would drive around these neighborhoods with a 3-car garage, and we just looked at each other and we're like, how does anybody do that? Right? Like we just, nowhere in our minds could we figure out how to even figure that out. And little did I know that 4 years later, I'd have 33 different homes and rental properties, and it'd just be a thing of the past. Like, we figure things out in life as we go. But I can attest that in this experience, Jim, like you said, we shook those hands and the right people show up, and there's a bit of magic that can happen in life. And I'm a big believer that as we lean into life and expect good things to come, great things to come, great things do come. Steve Jobs talked about this from Apple. He said, I wish people understood that you can, and he said it something like this. He says that you can step into life and it responds to you. You can poke at life and life will respond back. And right, if we get out of our comfort zones, if we're willing to step through those edges of our lives and have a little bit of faith and not lead with doubt and get out of those comfort zones, and like Michael Landon said, he was a Little House on the Prairie guy with the curly hair, right?
Yep.
When he was dying of cancer, he said, if you have anything you want to do in life, do it now. We don't know how many tomorrows we have. And I don't, the reason I remember Michael Landon is because I was head over heels for a girl, in love with her, not my wife. This wasn't back in my dating days. And I was, and this girl we were ski instructors together at Deer Valley Ski Resort. And I was, ski instructing some of the famous movie stars' kids, right? I was doing this little bunny school, right? And she moved away back to Hawaii after the ski season was over. And the next year, to make a long story short, I remember reading that quote from Michael Landon, and I said, what am I doing? I'm in love with this girl. I'm getting a ticket. I'm going to Hawaii. And I remember that there was some life-changing things that happened because of my willingness to just do it now. And I think a lot of us play the later game. The later means never. It's deadly to delay. I think COVID was not the plague of our world. The plague of our world is distraction. The plague of our world is delay. Those are the real plagues, because those are the things that steal dreams. Those are the things that get in our way. And if we can be in an environment like we have here at Zalevo that encourages us to believe, to seek and expect miracles, to lean into life, and there will be breakthroughs. There will be a stepping stone that appears. In a place like this, you will reach your highest potential because you're in an environment with people that can do so. We do have the products which help to get us past our physical barriers so that we can have the mental energy, because we have our physical dialed in, so that we can truly step into each day and win.
Love it.
I love it as well. And it's obviously reflecting in people's lives, as we've already talked about. So one of my other questions was really, it's more around you were the catalyst, the visionary, and you helped launch this whole thing. And so what do you, I would love to know, I think maybe Ming the Field would, what are a couple of your biggest God-given strengths as a person, as a human being, that have really influenced Zalevo the most? Because we always talk about, we have a beautiful culture here. We always talk about culture trumps strategy, all the time, 100%. So the point is, I guess what I'm getting at is, I would love to know more about what you feel, what you believe that your two biggest God-given strengths are, that you have brought, that have really that have helped us create this community to date with Zaleva?
Well, I don't know if I've ever been asked that question before, but the first thing that comes to mind, you ask, what are your two God-given strengths that might have helped to create this or get here? And one is that I trust in God. I trust in him. And I don't mean to sound cliche, but there are different patterns in people's lives who lead with faith and those who lead with doubt. I remember for well over a decade, I trained on Master Your Power Within and business and real estate principles. And you can almost predict the future with students by the level of faith that they had. Now, there's people who had blind faith and had enthusiasm that you didn't know if it would last or not. But the reality is, those who didn't, they didn't do anything with the information, right? They didn't do anything. And so if there's something that I've brought to the table, it's the belief that we can accomplish the impossible. And there is great wisdom in being able to lead with enough faith to take steps forward in our lives. Robert, when you ask the question, what are some of the attributes that make the difference? If we don't get out of our heads and into action, we get zero results. And so I was in the same training as many of my peers, learning about how to create great companies, learning about, I learned from some of the best of the best. I learned from some of the Fortune 100 guys who would go around to these Fortune 100 training companies, and they would train the executive teams. And I had the privilege to be in some of those environments, learning about what they would train at that level, right? And so they're going to Kraft Foods and they're going to some of the biggest companies on earth, training them on what to do. But at the end of the day, people who do great things get out of their heads of thinking about doing something and they actually do it. So when you ask about what's the characteristic that makes the difference, I was in the same trainings, getting the same exact training on what to do. But why is it that there's only 2 or 3 out of 100 that actually implement? Why? Why is there a ratio that's so low of people who actually go out, kick butt, take names, and make things happen? And I really believe, after some reflection on my own life, that I've been very blessed, but it isn't because I'm special. It isn't because I'm smarter than other people. In fact, when I was training, I was fully aware that many of the people in my audience were smarter than I was, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to be the smartest one in the room. But a lot of times I could outmaneuver them and outperform individuals because I wasn't in my head and I was implementing, I was operationalizing what a lot of people are still thinking about today. So I can probably count 2,000 or 3,000 people that had the opportunity to invest in real estate when I was training them in 2013, 14, 15, 16. I'm like, you can buy a new property right now. You can cash flow off a new property. There's going to be inflation. You're going to be able to like hedge against inflation, like sell your 401ks, pay the 10% tax or the amount of tax you need to, and just do the math. Let the math make the decisions. But guess what? There's only a few people who did that out of each 100. And many of them I talked to today, and they are millionaires today because they got out of their freaking heads and they did something with it. So if I sound like I'm passionate about this, it's because I care. And I realize that as a trainer, sometimes I wanted results for people more than they did. And I had to accept the fact at one point that we can't force anybody to do anything, but we can talk straight with them. We can be a friend. And so if it sounds like I'm in your face a little bit tonight, it's not because I'm judgmental. It's because the best thing I can do for anybody listening tonight is maybe do some fence kicking and kick you off the fence to get out of your own way so that you can get results. Because the reality is, you're going to have to live with you, who you are in 5 years from now. But that you in 5 years from now is going to experience some fruits of their labors based on what they decide to do today or this week or next week. And what we choose to do each day will change what happens with time. And if we want great results, if we want less pain, more pleasure, and amazing outcomes, easier experiences with money, if we don't want money to be tackling us, I've spent plenty of years when I was younger getting my butt tackled, is an understatement, by money over and over again, and I got tired of it. And I made the decision, let's figure this thing out. And I've done the same thing with my relationship with my wife. I've gotten tackled in that thing a few times. And and occasionally, very rarely today, I'm getting older, wiser, and as she says, sexier. So I'm glad she feels that way. But I still occasionally will get tackled, but I get back up fast. I take ownership as much as I possibly can. And we lick our wounds, we get back up, and we try again. And you can't stop somebody who does that. So if you want to know the two attributes that make a difference, Robert, one is faith. I don't try to do it alone. My grandpa taught me to trust in something bigger. And that is why we're here today. Zalevo is so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than me. And I know that. And I have a responsibility that's there's a lot of people's lives on my shoulders, on your shoulders, and what we're doing here. And it's good. It's good that I know that. My grandpa told me there's nowhere you can hide, Brandon. I said, what do you mean, Grandpa? He said, there's no walls thick enough from what your heavenly Father can see. So you better have a clean intention, right? You will one day look in everybody's eyes, and they'll know when you have the camouflage of the flesh that has gone away, and they'll know what your intent was the whole time. Don't think you can get away with anything. And it just kind of put me on the spot when I was 17 years old to get clear about what I wanted. So that's number one. Number two, about the two attributes, is being valiant. One of our core values is to be valiant. And when we slip, we get back up, and we get back up fast. There's not perfection, but there is a perfect approach, and the perfect approach is being valiant. And Robert, having some faith and getting back up, we can accomplish anything, because we will seek and expect miracles, and they will come. I can share a quick story. When I went into an annual planning meeting in Master Your Power Within, and the year was December 2017. I take a minute to reference that to make sure I'm exact. I was 39 years old. I walked into a Master Your Power Within annual planning meeting with my executive team, and I said, we are going to start a direct sales network marketing model, and we're going to start the company. And of course, all their jaws dropped on the floor. And at that point, they had a lot of trust in me because I had performed. At that point, we were making about $400,000 a day when we would go do our events. It was incredible. But I was tired of being the hero on stage. Everybody was admiring me. They wanted a life like me. And I didn't want the attention anymore. And I honestly wanted people to be the hero of their own stories. And this model with Zalevo, I'm sure I have a title, and I'm a CEO and founder, but the people walking across stage at the events are not me anymore. It's the people who are earning the awards and rewards of residual income that we can offer, and we can get people results 10 times faster than we could before. So in that annual planning meeting, I declared we were going to do that. I walked out of that meeting. I had a very distinct impression. You need to talk to a guy named Ken, who lived in my neighborhood years before. He'd moved away, and I'm like, okay, great, I'll get a hold of him. Within a few days, I walk into a shop in St. George, and this was a shop where my buddy and we owned an airplane together at the time, and I was going in to talk with him, and the place was empty. And as I walked down the hallway, it was kind of dark during the lunch hour, and I thought, this is weird, but he's my friend, so I walked back to his office. Nobody's there. I turn around, and guess who's in this hallway that's only lit up by the sunlight coming in through the natural windows because all the lights were off, and it was Ken. I said, Ken, what are you doing here? And he said, I moved back down. I moved back here to St. George because, your buddy hired me. And he says, what are you doing here, Brandon? I said, well, I'm just looking for him to talk about airplane stuff. But Ken, I had a very specific impression to talk to you. And he said, about what? And I said, well, this week I was with my executive team and I declared to them we're gonna go into a direct sales model because I believe that I'm going to be able to help people to reach their, honestly, right-hand side of the quadrant, rich and abundant. They're going to be able to reach their goals 10 times faster to create residual income and to get out of their way with their health and get into their highest potential with their health. And he looked at me and he just stared at me. He says, "You got to be kidding me." And a good 6 seconds went by. And he said, "Well, I think I know why you got an impression." I said, "Why?" He says, "Well, you don't know this about me, Brandon. You know that I'm one of the lead attorneys in all these certain fields in the country." And he said, well, what you don't know is that I was the general counsel, which means one of the top attorneys, if not the top attorney, for one of the billion-dollar companies and he was there for most of the ride in helping them to build a billion-dollar company named Monavie. And even though Monavie had its problems, he was there for the whole ride, and he got to know many of the greats in the industry. And he sat me down in his office, and 45 minutes later, I took meticulous notes. I had 10 steps I had to take. I had phone numbers, I had connections of the best people in the industry. And within a few more days, I had a comp plan development team that had 35 years at the time. They now have 40 years of experience in the industry. They worked in Amway, they worked on doTERRA, they helped to build the greatest companies. And the companies, unlike Monavie, the companies who don't use this team, who don't build their comp plan for maturity from the very beginning, have their day of reckoning when they scale. And what happens is they have to go renegotiate the way that they pay, thus hurting trust. And what goes with that is sometimes their companies go out the window because a lot of things, if not everything, is built on trust and relationships. So anyway, I have my list of who I needed to call, and the rest is history. Within 9 months, we had the Helsinki company that was started, and I was in Kirsty's role, the director of product development at that time, working much closer with the doctors, the PhDs, the nutritionists, and creating that first product line. We've launched with 9 products. But my point here is this. You asked about 2 attributes. I talked about faith, and the other one's being valiant. A lot of people might think, well, those are weird. Well, are they? Because if I didn't have Ken that showed up the next day or within that week, where would I be at today? He shaved off 5 years of finding the right people.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now that it's God's hand in our lives. And so when I say seek and expect miracles, that challenge was given to me by a guy named Nelson in the last year. And it's made a big difference for me because I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle happen because I'm willing to step into some unknowns, not being a wild man out of control. These are calculated. These are they are things that have been thought about. When I made the declaration to start a network marketing company, it wasn't because I thought about it that day. It's because I've been thinking about it for 3 years. Every time I was on stage, I was training thousands and thousands and thousands of distributors from dozens of companies from all over North America. And they'd come to me and they'd tell me their problems with their downlines. They'd tell me their problems with their comp plans. They'd tell me about the culture of their companies, and I'd hear about the successes, and I'd hear about the crashes. And some of the people that I was training, they would double, they'd triple, and they'd 10 times their income. And I could see the people in the direct sales model could accelerate faster because they had the business built for them. So it's not like I was inadvertently came up with the idea. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I was coaching people and working hand in hand with those people who would get stuck, and I'd help them get unstuck. And I thought, you know what, why don't I take all this Master Your Power Within stuff, combine it with the most incredible product line, which I know what people need now, because it's going to be designed for residual income. All the products are going to help for the bonds and relationships. They're going to help us to, right? And it's all going to be firing in the same direction. And now I can be on people's team. They don't have to hire me. I'll come for free now. And people for less than $100 get the business. They get me. We're all on the same team. And, you know, people don't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars. I'm here for you now. There are some elite trainings still, but you still have a way to get to me and many other great people that are on our corporate staff. And now it's Jim and Robert, where they can come to places like this and get inspired and hopefully get out of their own way.
Wow.
Well, I was right. Yeah. And isn't it fun? It's well, so much more than fun. It's so, to me, it's so reassuring
Yes.
and affirming that, because all of us had these nudges, and now with the you being the founder here, Brandon. So as we've got to tie this up tonight. Obviously, Jim and I could keep chatting with you for the next 3 hours. You got to get with your family, and those on this call, we need to honor that. Is there one? I know we've talked a lot tonight. I even wanted to bring up the fact that we are guided by divine principles, and we are built on core values, and we are built on having an incredible can-do mindset. We have the focus of where we're going, and we're physiologically we're courageous. This is a beautiful, courageous community, Brandon. So I guess what I'm asking in closing is, what's the vision here? Where are we going? I got a pretty clear picture of that, because I've asked this question before, but I would love for you to answer that for the community watching this call. Where are we headed with this? I know it's a big, broad question, but let's try to encapsulate it here.
Well, what I think is important for everybody to consider is what it would have been like if you were there in the starting days of Apple. What if you were there in the first 3 years of Apple, right? So Levo's coming up on its, how many years now, Robert?
2 years, 2.5.
Right. So we're 2.5 years. And what if you saw Apple at that point, right? And what if you were there for doTERRA at that point, or Nu Skin, some of these companies who have done extremely well? The people who were there, it's really a simple thing. The people who were there and were valiant, their lives today are beyond anything probably any of us can imagine as far as income. And the impact they're having in their lives today is directly proportional to how they decide to apply all that money that they're making. So where is this going? Where this is going, I believe, is going to be the greatest adventure, the highest potential that anybody could ever combine their professional time with, or even their personal time with. For those that are going to be involved with Levo, you will reach your highest potential, because that's what we're doing. We're helping people to do that. And as you help people to do that, as I help people to do that, as we do so and change the world one person at a time, our own lives will be blessed. It's not only a spiritual principle, it's a financial principle. The best companies in the world provide value. And when you have something like Levo, where people get to experience a product and they know when they stop, they can't do without it. They can feel a difference. They can feel the drop of awesomeness when they stop taking the products. What that means is there's a high retention product line, which means if this is all intentional by design. I wanted people to set their lives free. To do so, you have to have outstanding products. When you take it, it liberates you at a physical level and a mental level like you could never be at before. Financially, if you're a wellness partner and a distributor, which we call wellness partners around here, if you're a wellness partner and you share it with your friends, you don't have people falling out. We're not a churn and burn approach. Our intention is that we reach out, we invite, and people have the opportunity to experience these products and they stay. Financially, what that means is liberation for those who are sharing. Because as you share with people and they stay on these products, then that turns into cash flow, which is great. And at the end of the day, the goal is when they win, we win. When we help another person reach their highest potential, that helps us to reach our highest potential. Anybody seeking greatness knows that principle, that if they truly understand greatness, they know this principle, I should say, that for us to reach our highest potential, we must help others reach their highest potential. And where this company is going, we will be one of the great brands in the world, but that can be big talk. And that might not be as meaningful to us, the people listening, or even myself, as everybody's individual breakthroughs, because the goal here is that people can become rich and abundant, that they can have a healthy life where they can feel vibrant and amazing. Jim, you talked about it. It's changed your life, not only financially, how you feel each day. You have many friends like David Hinton. There's a video out with him where his life today is entirely different. Every single day he has more energy. But when you combine that physical energy, because we want to enjoy each day. I want to enjoy my time with my kids. I'm not going to do that if I don't have that Ultra 30 or that Fortitude 85 or those biome syncs that are kicking in my body. And that's going to allow me to be with my kids, to have great impact, to have the energy. My grandpa did teach me, highest energy wins. It's so true in business.
Yeah.
It's so true with kids. And it's so true with each and every day, where moments do make up the molecules of our lives. Moments are the substance to what creates a great life. But if we don't have the energy or the mental fortitude or acuity or that focus to stay locked in on what we want by taking these supplements, then we're at an extreme disadvantage. And honestly, we're getting in our own way. So I do believe this company's will continue to be great. There's already life changes all over the place. We will be one of those great brands where everybody that knows us in 5 years is going to wish they were in your shoes today, that has the opportunities today, because all ships will rise with this ocean of Zalevo. And I hope you guys are ready for the ride of your life. If anybody's here that's felt the draw where they know that there's something special here, it's not because of me. It's because of what we're doing. It's because we encourage people to believe and be believing, and there's a lot of power that comes from that. And some people might call it hocus pocus, but go look at those hocus pocus people and look at the results in their life. Because people who are naysayers and point the fingers at other people, just go look at the results. And if you want to have people that have high impact and do great things in very intimate conversations with them, you will see that the greatest of the greats, in my opinion, they recognize that they didn't get to where they're at today alone. They acknowledge that there was other good people and that there was some divinity, like I shared meeting Ken, that are stepping stones that show up. And so it sounds like we're wrapping up this call. So I want to encourage everybody, if you're listening to this tonight, to doubt your doubts. Don't doubt your faith. Be believing. Lean into life, like Steve Jobs talked about. My grandpa talked about it, and he said, lean into life. There will be a stepping stone that appears. It will be there, but you have to lean into it. There's been moments in my life and in my journey over the last 10 years where I like to use financial examples because they seem to be much more grounded for examples. But there's been moments where I remember years ago, somebody made a mistake on an Excel spreadsheet, and they said, oh, by the way, we need $1 million in 3 days or else the company's not going to make it. And I hit my knees and just asked. I said, look, I'm not entitled to this, but I need $1 million in 3 days. And I don't know where to go. I don't have resources at this time. And at that time I didn't. And sure enough, 3 days later, literally a guy walks up to me in my neighborhood and he says, Brandon, I had a feeling I should talk to you about your business. I've been looking around for investments for 6 months, and I had a feeling I should talk to you. I said, come to my office tomorrow. And within 2 days, we had over $1.25 million wired into the account, and we were off to the races. And I don't tell these stories to fluff any feathers. I share these stories to let you guys know that I've had things happen in my life where I know that I'm in God's hand, and I'm in His hands, and I know that all of us can be given divine guidance. They don't need to be in these in maybe big stories like I've shared with you today. These are just highlights. I'll sometimes seek for inspiration on how I can be a better husband, and I am shown ways that I can be a better husband. And there's no man on planet Earth, even my grandpa, who taught me to go and pray, taught me to go and seek this divine guidance. Even my grandpa doesn't have some of these answers. But I've had people call me up and ask me for leadership lessons, and some of the best lessons don't come from leadership books, my friends.
Wow, so true. To add to your story, I love the one that gives you the analysis. We don't know what today holds, but we do know who holds today in his hands. And if we get back up quick and ask for that help, even while we're down, that's when it shows up in big time. And I agree with you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. It's been a fabulous call. Thanks for your time and spending precious time away from your family right now there on the West Coast. We want to, again, we just respect you, and you do show us what servant leadership so it is. So thank you. Let's go ahead and acknowledge the people that are on the call live. I know a lot of you will be catching this recording, but we have some awesome people sharing some energy here. Speaking of energy, Kathy Horn, yes, with like a typical Kathy Horn, like 6 exclamation points. Okay. Carol Henderson, Red Rock, we love you, Kathy. And then Kathy Zahn, he said he was raised with an incredible example. Yes, he was. Kathy again, amen. Powerfuls from Jill, Dennis, Janie, Marks, love you, Janie, Kathy, Debbie Cartwright, Carol, Janie. Got a lot of good people plugged in here. Jill, obviously, Mother Hen herself, Jill Berth, Kathy Adams, Barb, Marissa, and yeah, more joining here. And Elaine, thank you, Tanya, Marissa. So we got some good people here, guys. And we, again, what a journey we're all on. And thank you for having the vision. And then, as you said, actually operationalizing the vision. So thank you, Brandon. Love and light to you. Let's do our 1, 2, 3 favorite core value, Jim and Brandon. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Force for good.
Force
for good. We stole that from you. Thank you for that good one.
Anyway,
That's awesome.
And we are a force to be reckoned with, by the way. Thank you, Brandon. Incredible.
we are. Thank you, Brandon. Love you. Thank you, Jim. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a
Have
great
a
day.
good night. You bet. Enjoy that family, please.